Perfect. You're on.
Okay. So everybody, I don't know if we even did this last week, but we should have, because when we did our before, we always introduce ourselves. I'm Jennifer Crowder, and I'm actually Super Short Director from Springfield, Illinois. And both Ann and I are Super Short Directors under Jerry Bronze. And some of you may know Jerry, some may not. Jerry's actually on a mission with her church right now, and so she's in Germany for another year. So not quite a year, I guess, but we're like halfway through the mission. But anyway, Jerry used to do meetings or phone calls with Ann and I every first and third Monday, and Ann and I wanted to keep doing it, and so we kind of let the ball drop. But with school starting, we wanted to get back into the swing of things and make sure that we are networking with you guys. And so we're super excited to get started again. And tonight's just our second Zoom call. And so if I'm like blinking weird, it's because my left eye is like has been twitching lately.
You need to drink water. It's a sign of hydration.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Probably so. You saw me sweating earlier. I'm so, Ann and I have this. If you guys don't have Marco Polo, you totally need to get it. Marco Polo is an app that you can use to have conversations with, and I love it just because you can message somebody and it's video chat, and then if I'm busy, then I don't have to listen to Ann's comment right now, but I can listen to it like whenever is convenient, and vice versa. So we just chat through that, and it's great. But anyway, we were talking today, and I was talking to her while I was spinning in my basement, and I was like drenching wet, soaking, talking. So anyway, so tonight I just thought Ann and I, we talked a little bit, and I thought that it would be a really good place to kind of reset and restart with Ann and I sharing our Scentsy stories, because I'm telling you guys, for several years, I got invited to do some talks at Scentsy Family Reunion and just world tour stops, and I felt like I was telling my story all the time. And then, to be honest, I haven't told it forever. I mean, I don't even remember the last time that I told my story. And so I think that it's super important for us to all be very open and honest about where we've been and what Scentsy is in our lives. And so that's where I wanted to start tonight. And Ann and I both are going to share just a quick version of our Scentsy story. And then I wanted to share just a few little ideas about from a talk. This is actually a sermon from a pastor from Redding, California. I don't know, some of you guys may be familiar with Bethel Church. But anyway, it's not by coincidence, I don't believe, that while I was on a walk yesterday, I had downloaded this podcast to my phone, and I never ever listen to podcasts. I should more, but this this talk, I had downloaded it at some point to my podcast on my phone, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk for like 3 or 4 miles, and I'm just gonna listen to this. And anyway, it was on courage, risk, and perseverance, and it was so good. It was so good. And then today I opened up an email from John O'Leary. Some of you guys might know him. He's a guy that we had at Reunion a few years ago, and he got burnt as a little boy, like extremely, like horrible. He should have died. Anyway, his little email was about kind of the same thing. So I shared it on my group page today. But it just, like, I have goosebumps talking about it because it really struck a chord to me. And I believe that when things like that happen, they happen for a reason. And so I just felt like God was speaking to me through that. So anyway, enough about that real quick. And I'm just going to tell you about my Scentsy story. So I have been with Scentsy. It will be 10 years in March. And so I'll just rewind and say that 10 years ago, my husband was a music minister at our church, and we didn't make a whole lot of money. Like, it was pretty, like, we just were super frugal. Like, to look at us, people probably thought that we were fine and that we had money. But in all reality, we always lived really well because growing up, my parents didn't have a lot of money. They always provided. My dad worked really hard and always provided for the family. But there was just not a lot of extra. So I was just raised with that kind of mindset and just that frugality in me. And so anyway, 10 years ago, we had just moved from Jacksonville, Illinois to Chatham, Illinois. And we had bought this big, we had like 5-bedroom home. It was just a few years old. It was probably way above our means financially, but it was for the space that we needed. It was a good deal for us. So at this point, we had 5 children, and we had 4 boys and 1 daughter, and we needed the space. So anyway, we had this house, and we had probably been moved maybe 2 months when Jerry from Jacksonville, which is my hometown, she called me up one day, and I was painting my living room, and I was like, she said, I answered the phone, and she said, hey, I have this thing that I want you to try out. And so anyway, just a little background on that is that Jerry and I knew one another from her kids and I. Her kids were a little bit younger than me in school, but we knew each other from that. And also Jerry used to sell Pampered Chef. So I had hosted a couple Pampered Chef parties for her and had actually signed up to sell Pampered Chef. But honestly, like, that lasted, it didn't last. I'll just be honest. I got pregnant with our first son, and I didn't want to carry around those heavy totes and be cleaning up after it. So it was a big flop. And anyway, that day, Jerry was going to get her hair done, and she brought the satin black warmer to my house and a bar of lilacs and violets. I wasn't a big candle fan at all. Some people, they are crazy candle fanatics, and I was not that person. But I did see some potential in Scentsy. And so I'm easily talked into just about anything. And so that night I went to Jerry's website and signed up. To be honest, when I signed up, I really just wanted to make my $99 back. And so when I joined, I didn't start off like having a ton of parties or anything like that, but I did just start telling people about it here and there. There's lots of details that I could go into, but to make a long story a little bit shorter, I ended up sponsoring after like 3 months, I think. I sponsored my sister-in-law. And then I went to Scentsy's reunion in 2008. And at that reunion, it like changed my whole outlook on things. So we always tell people reunion's so important because you honestly can go there and you just see, you get motivated and see, like, I just saw all these other women that were succeeding at this business. And I was like, if they can do it, I can do it too. So from the very beginning, I have this catalog sitting here on my desk, which I hadn't intended to open, but something that was always super important to me because I'm a numbers person. From the very beginning, I started doing parties here and there, but this compensation plan has been in most of our catalogs. And so this thing here was like in my forefront all the time. Obviously we all start at the same place. We're all essential consultants. And so it was just my goal as I started wanting to do more with Scentsy that, hey, after my first 1,000, I was certified. And then after I had my first consultant, I soon became lead. Then I got another consultant that I signed up, which was like my mom, or I don't know, like it just started for me snowballing, and I just saw this big picture of what Scentsy could do for me and my family. And so the importance of this, like, I cannot express how important it is to do that 500 every month, and just to keep your eye set on that next level, that next goal. Where are you going to go after that? And so that ultimately, I mean, I promoted really fast because of that. Like, I went lead and star and superstar consultant and director, like, super quick. Then star director and superstar director. I honestly don't even have it written down. I know that I've emailed a couple times, and I'm sure I have it written somewhere. But as far as when I promoted, but it did happen pretty fast for me. But I do remember going to director boot camp and talking to Orville there. And I felt like I had, they tell you to go wide, to keep recruiting personally, to keep, because just the more people that you're sponsoring, obviously the more opportunity you have to grow your business, and then they grow their businesses. And so Orville said, he just said, keep sponsoring, keep sponsoring. And so that's what I did. And so I felt like I was a director forever, but I really wasn't. Because he said, if you keep sponsoring, then it's just going to popcorn. So like whenever those people start building their businesses, it's just going to, and that's exactly what happened. So in the early days, there was a guy, and his name's Bob Hipple. I'll never forget this. This too is another important thing, to always be listening to trainings and phone calls, anything that you can get your hands on and your ears. Like if you're just driving in the car or whatever you're doing, make sure that, to fill your mind and with motivational things. So Bob Hipple was the first person that I think I listened to a call. I'll never forget, standing in my kitchen, and I listened to a call, and he was like, there are 24 hours in a day that you can sell Scentsy. But when you recruit somebody, and they recruit somebody, and they recruit somebody, just think of how my numbers mind went crazy with that. Like if you're using your 24 hours wisely, and those people are sponsoring new people and they're selling Scentsy, then just the growth of that can be huge. Also, I wanted to say, just in my beginning too, Becca Levi, I'm sure you guys all get emails from Becca about her Saturday calls. I have not been diligent at all about listening to Becca's calls anymore. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that they would help me still today. But in my early years, I would listen religiously to Becca's calls, and I would get down and out and be like, I'm not doing this. This is ridiculous. Like things would just be going cruddy. And I would listen to a Saturday call of Becca's, and I would just be reignited week after week after week after week. And so anybody on here, I would definitely recommend Becca's calls. I know she's done them every single week since she joined Scentsy, and she joined just a few months before I did. Becca has a huge organization now. But I just think that it's super important to be involved and to listen to calls and do all those things. So with that being said, as my business started growing, my family was supported by Scentsy mainly. And so my husband, eventually we closed our church because it was a really small congregation, and it was the best thing for our church. And so we lost that income, and my husband does still sells furniture on eBay to make a little bit of extra money. And he works at UPS early mornings at like 4 a.m. to help. We have great insurance through UPS now, and so he works part-time. But Scentsy still, even after 10 years, has continued to be our bread and butter to raise and support our family. So now we have 8 children, and that is my next kind of just testimonial to anybody can do Scentsy. Whether you're a college age kid that's wanting to make a little bit of extra money, to a grandmother or moms, crazy busy moms like many of us. My heart, my passion often has come back to moms because that's who I am. And something that I've always said is that I have fit Scentsy into the cracks of my life. I've homeschooled my kids for the last 11 years, and just this year, we decided to send our kids to private school, and it's going great. I just needed a break, to be honest. But for the last 9.5 years, I have worked Scentsy in wherever, whenever I could. And so I think that that's super important. I just had a team member over the weekend. I was sending out reminders for people that were going to terminate. And she was like, I'm actually going to quit Scentsy because I'm pregnant and I'm getting ready to have a new baby. And I was like, girl, don't let that deter you. You do not need to quit Scentsy because you're having a baby. You need to use that as your driving force to work Scentsy into around your baby so that you can be home with the baby and whatever. I just think that that's super important. So, whether you're wanting to just make a little bit of extra money or whether you want to make Scentsy a part of, a big part of your income for your family, just know that you can do it. One thing that I always thought in the beginning too was that, if I don't share Scentsy with somebody, whenever I let that fear or whatever come in, I would just tell myself, if you don't tell that person about Scentsy, somebody else is going to. And so I didn't ever want it to be somebody else. And so that was kind of my driving force too, to tell others about Scentsy. So that's kind of it. I'm sure that if I sat down and I could write a book about my Scentsy story, but we've earned lots of trips free with Scentsy. I've actually earned every summer incentive trip, or every, during the summer. We've gone to so many different places, and that's been a huge blessing for my husband and I to get away and relax without kids. So, and we've gone to Disney too, but with our kids. But anyway, okay, Anne, sorry, I probably took way too long.
You're okay. No worries. Okay, so I just it. I love Jennifer's story because I love to use it. And a lot of times I'll tell people, new consultants to share other people's stories. Maybe you don't have a story or you feel like you don't have one that is powerful. I love sharing Jennifer's story that she is a mom of 8 kids that works her bahootie off, that rocks at Scentsy, and that is amazing. So use her story and use my story. Because you never know whose story is going to touch another person. And Missy Silcox did a call or hopped on my team page this week, and it was amazing because of the way that she presented her story. I'm sure it touched a lot of people's lives. But my story started back in January of 2009, and I was newly dating my now husband, and we went over to his friend's house, and she was the niece of Jerry Franz. So it was Brecca's aunt that shared Scentsy with her and her mom, Becky. And that's how I found Scentsy, is still through Jerry, but she was in Illinois and we were in Minnesota. So at some point they had given her some warmers or something. White tea and cactus was warming when I walked in the house, and I loved it. I love the smell. We always were burning candles. You know how dangerous that is. And I literally took a ton of samples. Sorry, Becky, but I did. And I put them in my candles at home because I just loved the white tea and cactus scent. It was fresh. It was clean. I just loved it. So at the time, we were feeling the crunch of, I'm an interior designer by trade, and I was working in a resort town and working on people's second homes and third homes for design. And the crunch happened in 2008 when the market crashed in the housing market, and everyone was feeling, no one was spending any money, especially on their second or third lake home. It wasn't happening. So every week we would go into work and it was like, okay, is this our time, or like who's getting laid off this week? So I signed up in February of '09 because we couldn't afford the, at that time they only had like the full size warmers, and there was plugins, and I thought, well, I really should not be signing up, but I really can't afford the $20 plug-in and the 6-pack of wax. It just felt like it wasn't right, where if I would just sign up, then I would have everything. I could use all the testers. And everyone else was doing it. So Becky signed up, Brecca signed up, Brecca's dad signed up. Like, we were all signing up, and we all signed up all together, right? And so we all kind of went underneath each other to build each other up. So February 8th of '09, I signed up and had a launch party, and it was the biggest flop of my entire life. It was probably the worst party I've ever done because not one person showed up. And I was like, well, this is awesome. My mom showed up, but that's just because that's what moms do. And so I hustled because I wanted the shooting star. So I hustled my little boohootie off. I was in a town that I didn't really know a lot of people. I just got laid off 3 weeks after I'd signed up. So I didn't have an office to go to get people to purchase from me. I remember I made a haircut appointment so I could go talk to those people, and I didn't need one. Like, I remember like making up stuff to go see people so that I could do my 500, and I did it. So it's just, it's all in the mindset of what you want and how you're going to get it. I didn't do a lot of parties until I think my first party was April. I was a slow starter. I didn't sponsor anyone until like June or July of that year, and just kind of dabbled with it. But now here I'm laid off. So I don't even know what I did, but I remember doing a lot of Scentsy like samples, and I was trying to do fundraisers, trying to like build my business, but I wasn't really doing it. I was just kind of doing like the busy work. I wasn't sharing it. I wasn't doing anything. I was just kind of like playing Scentsy. I wasn't really doing Scentsy. So then Miss Jerry Franz was coming to Minnesota, and this was probably I think it was November of '09. And the incentive trip was out. It was Hawaii, and I really wanted to go. And when I met Jerry, she was like, oh, so what do you want Scentsy to do for you? And I was like, I want to be a millionaire. And it just spewed out of my mouth. And I was like, whoa, like, is that really what I want? Like, I can't believe I just said that. And ever since then, she gives me a lot of grief about it, because that's when my business completely took off. That's when I took it and I held on to it. And it was like, that was my dream. So I have a long ways to go to become a millionaire, but it's still there, and she still teases me about it. So after that, my business really exploded. I went from, an essential consultant into 3 years. I think I hit superstar. So director. So it was like every year I hit director, then star director, and then superstar director. So, and like Jennifer, I was all about the compensation plan. I knew I had to get 4 frontline directors, so I focused on getting my frontline and then training them to be directors. And I remember like when I would meet with these people, I would ask them what they would want, and I could pick out my directors, and then I just worked and I coached them and I worked, and that's how I got to hit superstar. It wasn't luck, or it wasn't, by chance, because it was a lot of hard work and it was a lot of trainings, and we had a blast. So, like Jennifer, I've earned quite a bit of trips. But now is where my Scentsy like story is completely different from when where I thought it was going to go, because I had a really big downfall. I had my daughter 4 years ago, and ever since then, Charleston, South Carolina was my last incentive trip. I have not made it since then because I've let that fear come inside me, and I completely froze up. I didn't think I was worthy enough of it. I didn't think that I was deserving enough of that big, huge title that everyone shoots for. So it really struck me, and I think I really realized it when I was at reunion this year, and I knew my business was doing a downward spiral. spiral because of I could see numbers and I track numbers. I'm a numbers person just like Jen, and it's scary. But the cool thing about it is that my comeback is going to be bigger than my setback. So I just even today was amazed at if I spend time in my business and if I have my mindset correct, how amazing things can turn out. Two amazing things happened today. I have a new recruit that is with another direct sales company at the corporate office, and she is, really considering it because she works in an office and there's no other person in there, so she gets the direct sales part of it. And another person just commented about a party, and I, was writing a list of an open house that I was wanting to add, and the person that was top on my list contacted me for a party. So it's amazing how your mindset can change things in your Scentsy world. If we focus on what we want out of our business, we will get that. So it's been really cool. I'm refocused. I feel energized. I feel recharged from reunion. And I don't think Heidi's keynote speech is out yet, but if you haven't heard it, when it comes out, you have to listen to it because it's absolutely amazing. And it really, I'm sure it touched a lot of other people's hearts, but it felt like she was talking right to me. And I know Jennifer and I were like texting each other, and I'm like, wait, is she talking to me or all of you guys? It was just like right towards my heart. So I hope that you guys can listen to that. But if you are in a slump, or if you think that your business isn't where you want it to be, I really encourage you to change your mindset, hop on calls, and reach out, because no question is too small. No, you're not in this alone. And that's the cool part, is because we're all in this together, and we can connect with each other. We can re-energize each other. Like Jen said right away in the beginning, this Marco Polo app, oh my God, it's changed my life because it's made me accountable. It's made me reach out to more of my team, and it's changed my business completely, because I am talking more about my business because of this app. Other people, it might not be my hostesses or anything like that, but I'm constantly talking about Scentsy, and it's making me constantly think about what I want with my Scentsy business. So now I have two little munchkins, and they go everywhere with me with Scentsy. Sometimes I wish that I could just leave them home, but I think that it just makes it more real life. And I met with a fundraiser host tonight, and she was amazed that she's like, you brought your kids with you? And it's like, it's a family business. This is what we do. And Harlow will always go, Scentsy, Scentsy, Scentsy. All we do is Scentsy. And it is, but like, she is going to grow up like knowing that determination and sticking with something is really going to pay off, because someday soon, I hope that they'll have another family trip that I can take her, because I haven't gotten to take her to Disney the second time we went, just the first time. So that's kind of my story. Jen, we have like 10 minutes left. If you want to talk about your other awesome topic.
Awesome, Anne. I don't know, like, if you guys are super inspired by listening to other people's stories, but I know that I am. Like, it just, I don't know what it is about it, but hearing where other people have been and what they're walking through now, like, it's just amazing that Scentsy can endure with us through all journeys in life. And just like Anne was talking about, sometimes we have super high points, but then when, like, you can take a break. I try to tell people that all the time. Like, that's the great thing about it. Like, if you have family that's ill, you can take a break. Just as long as you keep treading water and you keep going. One really important thing that I love about Anne talking about all of them in their group, like signing up together. Like, that's something that's super important too, is that when you sign up, like, if you can get a friend to sign up to like do the business together, to learn the business together, to motivate and encourage and inspire one another, that can be huge. I know in the beginning, Jerry, she's kind of like a second mom to me. we just learned the business together. It was crazy. We would talk Scentsy all the time. And if I felt like discouraged or whatever, I could call Jerry, and she's so great about encouraging. And I just encourage you to get someone like that, to get a buddy, to get a partner where you guys can do things together. Something that Orville and Heidi talked about, the fixed mindset versus growth mindset. And they talked about that a lot at Superstar Director Summit, and just lots of different thoughts that we have that are fixed mindset thoughts and turning those into growth mindset. Like I'm kind of in the middle, but I tend to have fixed mindset ideas and thoughts. But I want to change that. So those were just the notes that I wrote while Anne was talking. But like I was talking about that, I mentioned that talk that I was listening to, and the guy was talking about courage. And so I think all of us can think about courage and what it means, and just being courageous. Like I said, I was walking when I was listening to that. And so I didn't get to take notes. There were so many good things that I could have written down and shared with you guys, but maybe for a different time. But I want to encourage you guys to be courageous in your businesses. We can talk about these 3 aspects in every aspect of our lives. But since we're talking about Scentsy tonight, I just encourage you to be courageous. Don't let fear come in and, trample out your courageous spirit. And then risk. We all know that Scentsy, a lot of times it is a risk. I mean, thank God it's just a $99 risk that can easily be made back. And, it's a financial risk. It's a risk, a personal risk, just like going to people and sharing and trying to get new customers, trying to get parties booked, and offering the business opportunity to people. It's a big risk, but just keep my little voice in your mind that if you don't share Scentsy, somebody else is going to do it. And then last but not least is perseverance. And I think that I didn't get through the whole talk when I was walking yesterday. And so just tonight, right before the call, I sat in my bedroom for just 5 or 10 minutes and listened to the guy talking on perseverance. And he was talking about how, this is hilarious, I thought, what if we took millennials, like those young people that are out there and they are hustling and working, and you added a little bit of grandpa to the millennials, and just that don't give up mentality that many of our grandparents had, when back in the day when they didn't have a lot of technology that we have, they never gave up. They were always hardworking, in the garden or just at work, busy, always doing. And so he was just saying, what could happen if you put that don't give up mindset with the millennial mindset and you just go and run with it. And then he said, history makers don't quit. And so I just encourage you guys to be history makers tonight and in your own teams. So we have 4 minutes left. If anybody you can always type us a question or a message on your screen. Or if anybody has a question or wants to say anything, we can try to use up the 4 minutes if anybody has any big questions, or maybe you have something great that's going on in your business.
And you can raise your hand because I can also unmute you. We want this to be interactive.
Yes.
Anyone recruit anyone last month?
I'll be with Scentsy for 6 years tomorrow.
No way.
Yep.
Yay!
Wow.
Happy anniversary.
That's mine.
That's awesome. Kate from Montana, right there. 6 years Scentsy consultant.
Woohoo! Well, I was in a very big slump this past month, just feeling kind of down and not really, even though I knew the right things to do, I couldn't make myself do it for some reason. And tonight, I finally called a bunch of people that were customers back in March and just kind of put it out there. Hey, wanted to see how your supply was doing. Do you need anything else? I'm doing an extra special for October and November parties. Now, I didn't get to close any parties because I'm still working on better closing, but I had a few maybes. So,
Good job,
planting
Sarah.
seeds.
That's awesome. Way to stick your neck out there.
Anyone else? Well, if we don't have any more questions or comments, we don't have to keep everybody on. Ann and I want to thank you guys for joining us tonight. We appreciate you guys taking time out of your busyness to just get on and to network with us. We love it, and we want to hear more from you guys. We would love to, if you have any topic that you want to hear on. This doesn't always have to be Ann and I talking. We don't really want it to be. So we would love to have any questions like we can do. If you have any topics that you want to hear, let us know. And we can either do it or we can find someone to do it.
Right. So the next call will be on the third Monday, and it will be on events and fundraisers, trying to maximize the most of what you can get for the incentive. So join us for that.
And with the fundraisers, Anne?
Yeah.
With the fundraisers and even like vendor events, I've been trying to get my foot in the door with some of those, and I don't know if I'm just not looking at it the right way, or if it's just that all around our area people are already have their Scentsy consultants for vendor events, but I'm trying to find other ways of getting my foot in the door in those two areas. So if you guys have some tips and tricks on that next week, that would be awesome.
Perfect.
'Cause I've been just racking my brain trying to do different things, and so far no luck, but I'm still trying.
Perfect. Yep, we can do that. Cool.
Okay, so it's going to cut us off. So everyone, good night.
Thank you.